Hello and welcome to the Obscast. My name is Joe Gathercole and this is your October edition. We have a great episode for you this month with an update on notable dates for the diary in relation to Sherwood Observatory, both for Society members as well as for the intrigued members of the public. This is the first episode of the Obscast that will be available for the public on release day. We also have for you our brand new signing. The Obscast now has a resident astronomer in the form of Steve Smith. Members will already know him. He is the author of the brilliant Look Up section in our monthly newsletter Event Horizon, and he will be our personal guide through October's night sky. But before that, I had a conversation with our open events and course coordinator Brendan Scoular about our upcoming open evenings and night school courses that will be available to all very soon. And this is what he had to say about those exciting events. Brendan, welcome to the Obscast, or should I say welcome back, because you were one of my first victims along with Rob Dawes a few weeks ago.
Yeah, indeed. It's good to be back, Joe.
Thank you. We already mentioned this in that first episode we did, but would you mind reiterating that quick overview of your role here at Mansfield and Sutton Astronomical Society?
Yeah, I certainly can do. It's pretty straightforward, really. My role is primarily a trustee of the society, with a remit of overseeing the society events and the night school courses as well. That takes us throughout the seasons, the whole year.
Excellent. Well, I want to ask you early on, before we talk about the main topics for today, about your astronomical history. When were you first grabbed by astronomy, and what was it that inspired you to pursue this hobby?
Right, crikey. Yeah, going back some years now, thinking about it, you're making me realise my age. So yeah, I've been into astronomy now for, I'd say, 37 years. So probably from the age of 7, I would say. Yeah, really got into it. Just a natural curiosity of looking out the mum's window in the house, looking up at the night sky, seeing the moon there, being curious about it, the brightest star in the night sky. My mum would have like 8 volumes of encyclopedias, and the 8th volume would be like an index to them all, but they would have like a picture of the night sky from different cities up and down the UK, of what you can see at various times, and that just intrigued me really. You could see the star patterns for each month of the year, and yeah, that just fired my imagination from about the age of 7 really. I mean, I didn't understand a lot of what the encyclopedia was on about because I was quite young at the time, but the pictures of star maps in the back really captured something in my mind.
There was
from
enough
that point
in there
onwards,
for you to kind of
yeah,
grab
absolutely.
hold of and pull you in.
Yeah.
When did you get your first telescope? And do you remember what it was?
Pretty much. It weren't too long after I first got into it, about the age of 7, so about 8. We had a small telescope in the house. It must have been a handheld one. I think it came with a mini tripod, but the objective lens must have been about 30 millimeters in diameter. So it's probably about the length of a ruler, about 12 inches. So something basic you could just hold up and twizzle with the ends, the objective, point it at the moon. I remember balancing it on a cushion just to get an angle, suitable for the moon and the night sky. And I recall doing that about the age of 8. So I would say that was my first sort of telescope.
Right, so you got your first telescope and you were interested in astronomy. When did you first join MSAS and when did you become a trustee and committee member?
Right, so when did I first join MSAS? To be fair, I don't think it was that long ago, actually, even though some people think it is. I recall it being about April time, 2010, so you're looking at, a good 12 and a half years or so. Did actually become a trustee 2 years into that, so around about 2012 I became a trustee for about a year or two. Really telescope trainer, stroke vice chairman for a little while.
Yeah, that's good. We are now entering October. The nights are getting earlier here at Sherwood Observatory. That unfortunately means that our solar-oriented open days have come to an end. However, it does also mean that our open evenings are starting again. When is our dome opening up and unleashing the 24-inch telescope on the first open evening of the darker season?
Yeah, so we recommence our public open evenings on October the 8th, which is not long, to be fair. It's obviously before we change the clocks, but yeah, we've had a successful stint of public open days during the summer, 6 of them in total. And we now revert to our public open evenings, and the first one is October the 8th, as I just said. And that kicks off about 6:45 in the evening. And yeah, we're pulling in punters as we speak. Ticket sales are increasing, which is good, and member participation is ramping up as well. So yeah, really looking forward to October the 8th. It'll be a taste of what our society can do best, really. It's a means for our society to actually showcase what we do.
So, a member of the public arrives. It's their first visit to Sherwood Observatory on Coxmore Road. What can they expect when they arrive at that open evening?
Right, so yeah, the public can expect to have actually a really good time at Sherwood Observatory on October the 8th, as they would do on any other public open evening. So yeah, we would have the whole site actually geared up to cater for the general public and to inspire all minds of all ages when they come on site. So everything we do as a society will be presented to them. So we'll have an array of outdoor telescopes out there, and should it be clear, they will be on astronomical objects of interest. So the moon should be out, the planets, Jupiter and Saturn will be available. There'll be opportunities for kids and the parents to look through the telescopes at these wonderful delights in the night sky. We have merchandise stall as well, which is a really popular sort of part of the society we have, and we've recently taken on the purchase of hats, t-shirts, beanie hats with pom-poms, caps, hoodies, t-shirts a lot, and they're all donned with society logos. Members love them, the public love them, and we've got plenty to shift, and I think they're going to sell like hotcakes.
That's a good pitch.
Absolutely, hotcakes definitely, because our members are superb at baking cakes, and yeah, we've got a few hot bakers here, and they deliver the goods on pretty much every open day and open evening. So yes, from our serving hatch, serious refreshments, we sell hot drinks, cold drinks, and a variety of cakes as well. So yeah. There is that. Also on site, we have the Radio Astronomy Centre, really, so that's another branch of astronomy we deliver on site for the general public, and they can see an overview of how we detect meteorites with the array of aerials we've got on the lecture room roof, how we can detect solar flares, and also how we can detect like gas clouds in our galaxy as well. So Sparky, our radio astronomy sort of coordinator, will have his team at hand to take the public through the ins and outs of everything radio astronomy. So that's another convenient branch we can, show to the general public, as well as the optical side, as well as looking visually through telescopes. They get a flavour of another side of astronomy in the electromagnetic spectrum, really. So, yep, that's good. And what else we've got? We've got rolling lectures inside. So we'll have a society member giving a repetitive sort of 25-minute talk every 30 minutes to cater for the volume of people coming through the observatory.
So that just repeats when someone comes in, they'll watch it, they'll go out and move on to something else. And
yeah, pretty much. They will get called in at 30-minute intervals.
Yeah.
They'll come in for about a 25-minute lecture on an astronomical topic, and when that time's done, they'll go upstairs into the main dome. And so our 24-inch telescope will be on some astronomical objects of interest, and they'll get an opportunity to look through the big telescope upstairs as well. And they'll spend about an equivalent amount of time upstairs as well looking through that before they go outside and explore the rest of the site. And yeah, there's also the reservoir to throw into the mix as well, really, because we are looking to have that open on a public open night as well. It's been successful during the public open days, where it's been safe to go down into. But come the public open night, we're hoping to have that access all areas if it's safe to do so. Inside there, we've got a projector screen up on the wall. We've got a live feed on the projector from a laptop, where we've got some rolling footage of something astronomical to give a sense of, we're doing something proactive with the reservoir prior to its Science Discovery Centre build in a few years' time, really. So yeah, it's a means to show off the site in its entirety to the entire public.
You mentioned earlier on there will be some telescopes out the front for people to have a look at.
That's right.
What type of telescopes do we have on the pad for people to look through?
Right, yeah. So the Society owns a variety of telescopes. We have a Skywatcher 5 or 6 inch refractor, I believe. So we'll have that outside, and that will be on a German equatorial mount. So HEQ5 mount it's called, and that'll be tracking the sky. We've got a couple of Meade telescopes, 8-inch Meade, and we've got a Dobsonian telescope as well, which is a 10-inch Newtonian reflecting telescope. So we've got a variety of telescopes to use at night time to look at different objects of interest for the public.
Excellent. Well, we've just finished our solar days. Our solar days are amazing. We get to look at the star that gives us life through a special filter. But the open evenings open up the rest of the stars for us to view instead of just the one, and we also get to look at clusters, nebulas, and planets. When the public come here, they get to use our 24-inch telescope if it's not cloudy, hopefully, because it can't see through clouds.
Absolutely true.
Will they be viewing a variety of things in that evening, or is it going to be pointed at one kind of main event?
Well, you say that. The showstoppers really for this time of year, as you probably know and everybody else, is that the two planets are on show at the moment. Jupiter has just passed opposition. It's at its best as we speak. Saturn is up in the southern sky as well, and Jupiter's coming up from the east. So we've got two fabulous targets to take advantage of on the public open night and wow the public with that. And come October the 8th, I think we've got a near approaching full moon. So again, we've got another celestial target to look at and bring down to earth and, get the public interested in that. So yeah.
Excellent. So
pretty special time, really.
Throughout the coming month, at least, they'll be able to look at Jupiter and Saturn and
the moon.
The moon.
Yeah, it's interesting because we generally gear the public open events up for, say, a first quarter moon. So we've got some objects of interest in the night sky.
Yeah.
So it's not always all about, the faint fuzzies, the galaxies, the nebulae, the star clusters. We like to have the moon on display with some kind of phase, and generally we aim for a first quarter moon. But this first event, I believe it's a near full, but that's not a problem.
If the public do come to our open evening and are suitably dazzled, as they always are, and they get the astronomy itch, they can scratch that itch by signing up for and attending our night school courses, which we will be running again this year. I wondered if we could cover some aspects of the individual lectures. First off, what are the night school courses? When do they run? And how much do they cost?
Right, yeah. So the night school courses, to be honest with you, it's something I put together, and it doesn't take much promotion to get some traction with it from the public. They generally inquire about it, and they ask if there's a course here at the observatory, and I conveniently say yes, there is. If you're interested, I can send you an application form to enrol, and we take it from there. And we've got an interesting lineup for 6 Friday sessions that commence on the 21st of October. So in a few weeks' time, we've got society members as tutors for the school. And the first topic is the night sky, a beginner's guide, as you would expect. You want to break the public in gently with understanding astronomy. So our first tutor will be society member Nigel Johnson. He's been a long-standing member for a good number of years. Very knowledgeable about the night sky, and very lucky to have him on board to deliver this. Then week by week, minus bonfire night. We don't have one around that time because of the atmosphere is quite smoggy and we missed that week. Then we hit on November the 11th and we hit on objects in the night sky, the planets, the solar system, the moons of the solar system, then a 2-part or 2-week lecture on the universe. So it starts off gentle. It kind of like builds and builds and builds. And
so those first 2 sessions, the night sky, a beginner's guide, and objects in the night sky. What's can we have a kind of an overview of those 2 sessions for people? What do they actually learn about in the night sky, and what objects?
Yeah, okay. So subject topic will be really what the tutor wants it to be, really.
Okay.
But I envisage the basics of the night sky, understanding the constellations, how they change throughout the seasons. Your basic sort of navigation pointers of the bright stars and how you can find other stars through finding your way about the night sky with maps, star maps, apps on your phone, that sort of thing, really. So it really is a gentle introduction. And the next one after will be Gary Lever's Objects in the Night Sky. And Gary's pretty damn good at actually taking a lot of astro photographs through his telescope. And I believe he will be using a lot of those in his talk just to showcase what you can actually see between the stars.
Yeah.
So if you think about the first week being the beginner's guide, where you're understanding the constellations and where they are and what the names are, and I think Gary will go a bit further and looking at what the jewels are and the gems are and the nice faint fuzzies and pretty pictures of those and just describe what they are and where they locate within the stars.
Okay. And the next 2 sessions cover the solar system.
Yep, and those 2 will be covered by Rob Dawes. So he'll be covering the planets and a week later the moons of the solar system. And it's a mammoth topic to undertake, and I'm pretty sure just 2 evenings won't do it much justice. But Rob's brilliant.
It's not as big as the next one.
Rob is brilliant at delivering lectures, and anybody who sits on those will be very lucky to actually pay attention and understand a lot about the solar system.
The last 2 evening lectures of that first course are called The Universe Part 1 and The Universe Part 2. That's an even bigger topic than the solar system.
Yeah, if you see the name
a lot
there.
to cover in 2 lectures.
Well, absolutely.
Does Part 1 cover the first 6.9 billion and the second half?
It could well do. I'll be honest with you. Chris Millhouse, this is his sort of thing. He does this. He's done it before in the past. His knowledge of the universe is astounding. And he does give a thorough account of the Big Bang up to present day, essentially. So everything in between, as much as he can. It is quite intense, to be fair, but it's a good learning curve.
I did these last year, and they were good.
Yeah.
I think the ones I missed too, but they're on the next one, so we'll talk about the next night course.
Okay. Yep. So the next night course, looking at commencing around about February the 24th, and I guess the second night school course come end of winter, spring next year is probably a bit more advanced than the first, really, given the nature of the topics. Radio astronomy, 2 parts, optical astronomy, 2 parts, and astrophotography, 2 parts. It kind of starts off basic, then gets more advanced between parts 1 to part 2. Okay.
So the radio astronomy, I know it's a big question to ask, and we shouldn't go into too much detail, because I'm going to have our radio astronomer coordinator, Nigel Cunnington, on at some point on the Obscast. To delve deeper into this, but what is radio astronomy? I know it's a big question, but briefly.
Right, yeah. No, good question that is. So radio astronomy is really the study of celestial objects at radio frequencies, really. So if you think about what we do with astronomy with our eyes is in the visible part of the electromagnetic spectrum.
Yeah.
And then we use specialist equipment to actually understand the night sky using different range of frequencies and wavelengths, and they tend to be in the order of centimetres to metres, hence why you see the aerials the size they are on site here to capture the radio astronomy wavelengths, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's capturing things our eyes aren't sensitive enough to pick up.
Yeah, our eyes are tuned to the visible part of the spectrum. The equipment on site here, the aerials, antennae and the dishes pick up the centimetre to metre ranges of the wavelengths.
Yeah, excellent. I think the next 2 lectures are optical astronomy.
Yes, they are. In fact, I still yet to have a lecture confirmed for the first part of optical astronomy, but generally that would cover the history of optical telescopes of the world, right from the invention of the refractor, with Hans Lippershey 1608, right up to the modern day behemoths, that sit on mountaintops around the world, really. The second part will be covered by Dr. Steve Wallace, and I expect that'll probably go into more advanced spectroscopy, really, understanding the light from stars and how we can understand, processes that happen, light years away, really, especially, markers for potential life on exoplanets, etc.
Excellent. That one sounds really, really interesting as well, then. The last topic is one that inspires awe in me at the same time as mystifying me, and that is astrophotography.
Right, yeah, so you can see we've got Peter Jenkins, our expert astrophotographer, down for 2 courses, and Peter will gently break everybody into understanding that with basic cameras, DSLRs, be it your Nikon, Canon, how you can go about using that for the nighttime astrophotography. Then he will dive straight into pretty much what you can do with modern day scientific equipment you can buy from astronomy shops, cool CMOS cameras, cool CCD cameras, and how you can go about using them, get the most sort of efficient use out of those cameras for the best images, really. And we go through all the processing techniques to get good images.
That's great, and we have a lot of help here for people who want to get on with astrophotography, because we have some brilliant astrophotographers here at MSAS, and I get to look at the pictures that kind of bring the cosmos straight to you, but I'm not very good at taking them yet. Like you said, we're lucky we have Peter Jenkins, great astrophotographer. If someone came here not knowing much or anything about astrophotography, would they go away having an idea how to take their first picture?
I agree. I think that is the case, most definitely. That you could get a novice coming in here sitting in on the first lecture with Peter, and they can take a lot away from it and understand it and be inspired to actually get their camera out, put it on a tripod in their garden or from a dark site location, and get some pictures of the night sky. It's got to start somewhere, and people generally start doing it that way. And seriously encourage the members to take up this night school as well, because it's open to the members as well as the general public.
Yeah.
Just to point out, there is a fee involved for the night school courses.
Yep.
It's a 6-session course, 2-part. Course 1 is back end of this year, commencing October. Part 2 is the first part of next year, commencing February time. So, yeah, for members it's half price, so £25 per course, and for the public it's obviously double that, £50.
Okay, excellent. Well, I actually missed the astrophotography course last year because my children had COVID, so I'm going to come back and do that whole second half again.
Okay, sounds good. I'll put your name down for it.
Yeah, I'll be the first one on the list. And, well, thank you very much. I hope we've given people a decent idea of what to expect at the open evening on the 8th of October.
Correct.
And if people want to come to that, then please book yourselves in because they do sell out. And keep an eye out for our night school coming up soon. What dates are the night schools again?
Night school commences October the 21st. Then the 28th, then we have a little break for bonfire night. Then we recommence on the 11th of November and continue right up to the 2nd of December.
And that's weekly on Saturdays?
Fridays.
Good job you said that then. Yeah, we'll come to the night schools and you can learn all about the topics we've mentioned today. So Brendan, thank you very much, and I'll have you on again sometime soon.
Yeah, indeed. It's been a pleasure, Jay. See you next time.
Thank you. Well, there you go. All the information on open evenings and night school courses you could need. If you do happen to need any more information, please get in touch and ask any questions you may have. For information on our open nights, please email events@sherwood-observatory.org.uk, and for our night school courses, it's course@sherwood-observatory.org.uk. I would like to say we mentioned looking at the sun during our solar days. Please do not look at the sun without a decent sun filter and someone who knows what they're doing. You could cause yourself some serious eye injuries, which would seriously ruin any future viewing sessions. That said, it's time to talk to the Obscast resident astronomer about those future viewing sessions, specifically what is available to you in October. Steve, welcome to the Obscast. I'm very happy to have you here.
Well, thanks for asking me, Joe. It's a pleasure to be able to get involved.
Well, I'm very much looking forward to you guiding me and people listening to some astronomical targets. I definitely need the help, and I'm sure others listening will appreciate the advice as well.
Well, we all need help, so even me sometimes. But yeah, more than welcome.
I have already quickly introduced you on the episode, but could you just introduce yourself, tell us a little about yourself, and do you remember when you first stumbled into astronomy?
Yes. Well, obviously, my name's Stephen Smith. I've worked all my life as an electrician, and in my early 20s, I got an interest in the stars. I'd seen through a friend's very plasticky telescope the moon one of those days, and it just intrigued me. So I ended up buying a pair of binoculars, like most people start with astronomy, and I quickly had a look at the moon and the Perseus double cluster, and then I got really interested in it, started reading books. But there was nothing like there is today for the amateur astronomy back then. No magazines, no internet, no real programs, and then Patrick Moore started. So got interested in that, and things started developing after that. So I ended up in my early 20s getting a 6-inch reflector telescope. It was a push-to, it was homemade, it was rubbish, but that's all I had.
Yeah,
I had the smallest lenses ever, and I struggled to find anything in the sky, but I made do, and that's how I went on until probably 10 or 15 years ago when I started getting some modern stuff and more time to look at astronomy. So since then, I've joined astronomy forums, and I've joined the astronomy club. I've had magazines for probably 20 years, and I got really into it. But I must say my game has improved since I joined the club and since I joined certain forums, because then you are brought on very quickly and you learn a lot of stuff, and that's what I'm hoping people will do now, by joining the club.
Excellent. It's true what you say, the amount of things out there today for someone getting into it, magazines, podcasts. and obviously the internet has
Yes.
changed everything a lot.
And the equipment as well. The telescopes, there's a wide range of different types of telescope in different sizes available. The lenses have got really good. Instead of having a lens with perhaps 2 pieces of glass in it, you've got a lens with a dozen pieces of glass in, wide field views. Brilliant. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, you write Looking Up for our Event Horizon, which is our monthly newsletter, which you sometimes edit as well. I think that's correct, is it?
Yes, I edited this month's actually. So there's me and Bernard. We take it in turns to edit the EH each month, and it was my turn this month.
Excellent. Well, a brilliant part of EH is your own section. And it's a great tool for people like me to use as a guide. It has brilliant diagrams and pictures to really help people enjoy the night sky as much as possible. I think it's foolproof, and I can say that because I'm a fool and I've tested it, and it really helped. Do you have any advice for people wanting to get viewing now that the dark skies are allowing us more observing time?
Yeah, I mean, the big piece of advice is to be ready for it, because unexpectedly in the British weather, we occasionally get clear nights. And when we get a clear night, it's nice to go outside and get all your equipment out there and look at stuff. But if your equipment isn't ready, if you can't find it on the night, and you haven't got long to do it, my advice is have your equipment ready. Always have some warm clothing ready as well, so that everything is to hand. And the biggest thing, really, there's nothing worse than going out at a particular time of the year, looking up at the sky, seeing all these. It's a fantastic seeing night, and you haven't got a list of things to see. So yes, we can go back to our favourite objects all the time, or we can look at our favourite objects plus some new objects. And that's really why I started writing my article for the EH 2 or 3 years ago, basically with a list of stuff to see that next month. Because armed with a list of 40 objects, you might know 10 of them, but you've got 30 new ones to see. And if you don't have a look, you don't know what they're going to look like. So that's for me is the key to it, to be ready and to be armed with a list of items. So that's where my article started from.
That sounds like some brilliant advice. Think ahead, prepare, get your telescope outside, get ready to the temperature. And
Yes.
With that in mind, what suggestions do you have for people to add to their observing list this October?
Okay. Well, this month, yes, we've got some darker evenings now, so it gives us more opportunity. And even late at night, at 3 o'clock in the morning, Orion is up now. I went and looked the other night, and at 3 o'clock in the morning, it's straight above us. So even Orion, which I look forward to seeing every year, which is full of lots of goodies, it's up there. But a few interesting things this month that shouldn't be missed, really. And one of them is the annual Orionids. It's a meteor shower that occurs on the 21st of October.
Okay.
I'm reading from my notes, which there's more detail in the EH, but basically, Halley's Comet, which comes around every 76 years, leaves 2 trails of dust in the solar system, which we penetrate twice a year. So we call them the Orionids in October and the Eta Aquarids in May. And the Orionids are due in October, and it's a fantastic meteor shower normally. Very fast, they're very bright. So that's one thing not to miss, and that's on the 21st, 22nd of October.
Okay.
Another interesting thing, which I've looked at Jupiter hundreds of times, and I'm sure most people have, but there's an interesting Jovian moon phenomena that occurs on the 26th of October at 8:15 at night, which is a convenient time to look at stuff. If you look at it through your binoculars, you'll only see one moon. And obviously the Jovian moons is normally 4, of which you can normally see 3 or 4 moons. So what's happening basically is that one moon that you can see is Callisto. Io is occulted by Jupiter, that means it's behind it, and Ganymede and Europa are in transit across the face of Jupiter. So you'll only see one moon. Now, if you look through a medium to powerful telescope, you should be able to see those two moons going across the face of Jupiter. And actually, a little bit later, 9:30 p.m., Ganymede's shadow of that moon also crosses the face of Jupiter as well. So it's like a double whammy on one night. I've never seen that myself. I've seen transits before, and obviously moons disappearing behind the back of it and traveling across the face, but never 3 out of 4 out of the way.
Yeah, so this time we've got one hiding behind and 2 jumping out in front, and Callisto off to the side.
Exactly. So that's an interesting phenomenon. But if you don't look at that particular time on that day, and the details are in the EH, then you'll miss that.
And Jupiter is just past its main opposition point, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing happens as well at that particular point. Normally, if you've got powerful enough equipment, we're using a telescope, you can actually see the moons transiting Jupiter, and you can see the moon's shadow as well, either trailing behind it or preceding it across the face of Jupiter. When it's at opposition, like even now, the shadow and the actual moon are very, very close to each other. So it's an interesting thing to see. They're more or less, sometimes one's above the other, because the sun, us and Jupiter are in line virtually. So that's another interesting phenomenon.
Excellent. So we'll keep our eye on Jupiter. And also with the Orionids, as you said, I think they're peaking on a Friday and a Saturday, so they're perfect for people to go out at the weekend and have a look.
Yeah. I thought you might want to know about one or two things you could have a look at this month. If you've got simple apparatus, or if you've got a pair of binoculars, there are a few things you can see with that. At the moment, the Summer Triangle's right above us, and to the right of the Summer Triangle, just on within range of it, there's an interesting array of stars called the Coathanger, and it's easily found. And if you look at it through binoculars, it does look like an upside-down coathanger. Now, that's one thing you can see with a pair of binoculars. And it's where once you've seen it, you'll go back to it because you know where it is every time. It's easy to find.
That's a brilliant thing to look for if you don't have much equipment. You've just got your binoculars. You can go and have a look.
Yeah, it's just it's a simple asterism of stars. It's not a constellation or anything like that, but it's a nice little grouping of stars.
Yeah.
And speaking of groupings of stars, the Pleiades is also coming up now. That's virtually above Orion, but even now, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, you can see the Pleiades in the distance, and it's a beautiful open cluster to see through binoculars. And if you've got them on a mount, or if you can hold them steady enough, you'll also see behind the stars, there's a lot of, looks like nebulosity. It's gas that's in our galaxy, the Milky Way, that the actual star cluster is passing through, and so it lights it up and they look blue. So that's something you can see through your binoculars in the Pleiades, and also something called Alice Braids as well. Alcyone is one of Pleiades cluster stars, and below it there's like a tail of stars in a line that's hanging from it, and it's called Alice Braid. So that's another thing you can see with binoculars.
Excellent. I love the Pleiades. It's always a brilliant one to point someone who's new to astronomy at with their binoculars, and it blows you away the amount of stars you can see in Pleiades through binoculars. That's
right. There's about 15 or so stars you can see through binoculars, and it's another harbinger of winter and Orion and stuff like this. He knows coming, so it's always a little reminder of what's coming from that area, because it's a great time of year during December, etc., when it's straight above us. Obviously, with binoculars again, you could have a look at the Perseus double cluster. That looks fantastic through binoculars. And M31, the Andromeda spiral galaxy, that's up there as well. So that's always worth having a look through binoculars. So I'll leave the binoculars at that, but there's a few things you can do if you've just got binoculars. I mean, obviously, you can look at those with scopes as well.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, what do we have next?
That brings me on to a couple of telescope objects, really. Easy target for a telescope if you're new to observing, and this is one of my favourites. Normally, when I've had a session looking at most of the stuff that I've got on my list, I'll always try and swing my telescope over to the Bode Nebula, which is two galaxies, M81 and M82.
Okay.
And they're relatively easy to find with a scope, whether it's go-to or whether it's a push-to scope.
Okay.
Well, these are two bright galaxies, and one of them is a peculiar galaxy, M82, and it's beautiful to look at. It looks like it's had an explosion in the middle. And in fact, it's known as the exploding cigar galaxy. And the other one is just a large galaxy that's lying next to it. But basically, if you look at the plough itself,
yeah,
the last two, if you look at the last star in the panhandle is Dubhe, and if you look at Dubhe and you look at Merak, those two stars normally point straight up to Polaris.
Yeah.
Right? So we use those two. The next star along from Merak at the bottom of the saucepan is Phecda.
Okay.
And if you draw a line from Phecda to Dubhe and go the same distance again in that direction, then you come to M82 and M81. So it's about the same distance as it is from Phecda to Dubhe if you draw a straight line through those two, and there stick your telescope in that area and you will come across them. So that's an easy target to find.
Yeah, it's a brilliant way of finding it.
Yeah. I'll chuck a more difficult one in now. It's easy to find, but it's not so easy to see.
Okay.
And that's the Veil Nebula. About 20,000 years ago, a massive star exploded as a supernova in Cygnus, and it's now a spectacular complex of hot glowing gas. And it's spread over several degrees. And so people unwittingly didn't realize that all these pieces were joined up. But if you looked at if you wanted to, the easiest one to find is the Western Veil, which is NGC 6960. It's also known as the Witch's Broom. You may have heard of it.
Yes, I have, yeah.
But it's easy to find. Cygnus is the swan. And if you look at the lower wing of the swan, there is a star called 52 Cygni. And if you can see it with the naked eye, it's a fourth magnitude star. And if you look at it through your telescope and get it in your eyepiece, then the veil runs through the background of that star.
Okay.
So you may need an oxygen 3 or a ultra high contrast UHC filter to tease out the nebulosity if you can't see it yourself. I must admit, I never saw it until somebody brought a 12-inch scope up to the observatory and I saw it through there with the filter. But with the bigger the scope, the better you can see it. But with a UHC or oxygen 3 filter, just move it in front of your eyepiece, look at Cygni 52, and you'll see this veil it's like a jet stream from a jet going through the background. Then you can move your scope up and down and around that area. It's a fantastic wow to see the Veil Nebula. It's difficult to see, easy to find. So with a scope and the right filters, you can see it.
I think I remember the Veil Nebula is a nebula that's actually been observed to be expanding or dissipating.
Yeah, it is expanding.
Yeah, it's been... I think it's had pictures years ago and pictures sooner, and you can see the change in shape as it's moving around.
That's right. It's very hot, glowing gas, and it's expanding at a rate of 1 million kilometers an hour. And now it's evolved into an object 3 degrees in diameter, so you can't get it all in your scope. But what you can do is move around to see the other main areas that there is. I've just described the Western Veil. There's also the Eastern Veil, which is the other side of the gas cloud that you can see edge on. That's NGC 6992. And then in the middle between the two, there's Pickering's Triangle. But the Eastern Veil is also, they call it the fishhook, because it looks like a fishhook. And you can flip your scope from one to another, and in the middle, once you've got your filter and your scope in that area, it's fantastic to imagine that's a supernova you're looking at.
Yeah, that's incredible, isn't it? You you mentioned, I think you said it was about 3 degrees in diameter.
Yes.
When we talk about degrees in the sky, for people who might not know. What is it we're referring to?
Right. Well, what it means is if you're standing on the ground and looking up at the sky, say you're looking at the moon,
Yeah.
the moon itself is half a degree in diameter, the same as the sun.
Okay.
Yeah. So when you get a full eclipse and the moon's half a degree, the sun looks half a degree, though it's a million times further away.
Yeah.
When the two come over each other, that's taken up half a degree. So if you imagine 6 diameters of moon in the sky, as a rule of thumb, you can imagine the area that the veil covers. And so with a telescope, the bigger the telescope, the less area you can see. But also it's down to field of view with your eyepiece and everything, but you can't really get it all in. So what you might be looking at is one part of the nebulosity, and then you move your scope over a bit and you can see other parts of it. So it's such a big area, it's very unlikely you'll be able to get it all in one eyepiece. Your eyepiece is normally limited. Yeah, it's normally limited to about 1 or 2 degrees field of view.
Okay.
So, yeah, the veil's quite big.
Yeah, so you have to do your own little tour of the Veil Nebula with your telescope if you're lucky enough to find it.
I can remember the night I last looked at it with Michael Helena, one of our members now who's sadly passed away. He'd never seen the veil before, and he came to my house, and I had my 16-inch Dobsonian out, and I said, "Tonight, Mike, you're going to see the veil." And we started off looking at loads of other items up there, and then when it was high enough in the sky, right above us, we swung round to the veil. And we saw the western veil first, and then we just kept hopping from the west to the east, etc. And he'd never seen either before. And we were just like 2 excited schoolboys. It was really a wow moment that stayed in our minds for several days, something we talked about, several times since, because that's it for me. I'm a visual observer, and I like to get a wow moment. Seeing a transit across Jupiter, seeing stuff for the first time, that does it for me. So I love that.
Nights like that, they're what it's all about, aren't they?
It is, yeah. And I'm encouraging people to get out there and have a look at some of this stuff. And another typical target for me is that I love the Ring Nebula and I love globulars, but the Ring Nebula itself has got a 15th magnitude star in the middle, and it's very difficult to see. So that's one of my on my bucket list as well, to see that. So I've got several that's there tucked away, and I've started years ago also working through the Messier list. I've got about 6 on there that I've not seen. I'm not too very ambitious, but I've seen about 103. Messiers now, but I will have to get round to seeing the rest of them.
Yeah, well, there's a fair few to get through, aren't there, on the Messier list? And I'm sure they're all worth it if you can find them in the sky and have the equipment to get to.
Yes.
I have one thing I'd like to ask you about in your look-up section, if that's okay.
Yeah.
That's Stefan's Quintet.
That's another one on my bucket list. All right, I've got that one here. Basically, if you look at the Great Square of Pegasus, above Shat, Scheat, I'm not swearing, above that star there's NGC 7331 galaxy. It's a spiral galaxy, and that spiral galaxy is often referred to as our galaxy's twin. It was only recently that we realised that our own Milky Way galaxy has got a barred center to the galaxy, but this one looked very much like ours, and it felt like our galaxy to a lot of astronomers until the within the last 20 years or so. But it's been referred to as our companion galaxy and twin. Anyway, I'll just mention something about that galaxy because it's easy enough to find. It's just above the square of Pegasus.
Okay.
And it's got an NGC number, so it's fairly easy to find. And it's also got a few companion galaxies which are much further away, but they call them the fleas. But anyway, that's that galaxy, but that is a hopping point to get to Stephan's Quintet, because
Okay.
to the right of it, half a degree, we're moon diameter again, half a degree, 30 minutes, there is Stephan's Quintet, which I have not looked at it through my 16-inch Dob yet, so that's on my list to do.
Okay.
And now's a good time to do it, because the Great Square of Pegasus is up there, and all that's there too. So I just want a good seeing night, and hopefully I will be able to see that, because they're very in a small area of sky, and so we'll see.
And that Stephan's Quintet, 4 of those galaxies are destined to collide, are they? Is it safe to assume that those 4 are gravitationally bound, but the other one is millions of light years either in front or behind it?
Yeah, there's one that's separated from there. It's just in the line of view. But there's 4 that's gravitating. I mean, we've seen recently with the Webb telescope, it's took a picture of Stephan's Quintet, and it shows the interaction and the tenuous, looks like, these little streams of stars between those 4 galaxies in more detail than we've ever seen with Hubble.
Yes.
It's all very exciting times with the Webb.
Well, it was famous before. It's even more famous now, Stephan's Quintet. So.
Yeah, I've seen the photograph, and what amazes me with most of the photographs that this Webb instrument is taking is the enormous amount of galaxies in the background, very faint galaxies there, just reminding us that the universe is full of galaxies, and they are full of stars. It makes you wonder.
I mean, definitely. I was listening to an interview with an astronomer, and they were so excited about JWST, not because of the things they knew they were going to look at and point at, but the accidental things they were going to just find behind, because it's picking up so much of that infrared light. They're finding things they're not even planning to look at. While they're trying to make one discovery, they're discovering others. Do you have anything else?
I think that's enough to be going on with, but I would recommend that, again, that people make everything ready, and then you can move. One thing, getting everything ready and having the list does, it minimises the time of setting up, and it maximises your time at the eyepiece. So it's always worth having everything ready, having all your lenses clean, ready, and so you can move outside, have a look at everything, consult what's on your list, try and look at some new stuff as well, and then next year when they come round again, you'll see them all again. It's great. You just keep adding to it. And pretty soon you'll be going outside in a couple of years' time, and you'll know where most of these things are, and you'll be looking forward to seeing them.
Yeah, well, Steve, thank you very much. I've got lots to get on with, and hopefully we'll talk again next month on the next episode.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you very much.
Clear skies.
Thank you very much to Steve coming on his first episode of the Obscast, and I look forward to having him on again in the future. Before I go, I just want to give you a quick update of the events coming in October. We have the open evening on the Saturday, the 8th of October, as discussed with Brendan. That is open to members of the public. If you are a member, you can come to the Society lecture on the 25th, with the lecturer still to be determined. And members can also come to the Great MSAS Bake Off on the 26th of October. There is still time to put your name down to enter that and bring in your astronomy themed cake to try and win a competition. You can now subscribe to the Obscast on podcast apps, and you can also follow us on the MSAS YouTube channel. And with that, I will say goodbye, and I will see you next month for November's episode of the Obscast.